It really is about going and being having extreme ownership over how you show up, and really looking at yourself from the shoes of the people that you've got, and asking yourself, like, okay, am I actually portraying what I want to portray? Is the way I'm showing up being received the way I want it to be received? Because too many of us, like, we, the fake it till you make it bullshit that we were fed a few years ago, and the hustle and all of these things, and like we're comparing our highlight reels and we're posturing all the time. That's not necessarily sending the right messages to the team, and not really getting what we receive. And too many business owners don't really think about the character they need to display to be able to get that model back to them and to get the best out of their people.
Hello and welcome to Uncovered, the podcast with your host, Jason Irving. Join me in a journey to understand what's truly happening in your world and the world around you. This is not about how you're living life on the surface. It's about what's truly driving you from under the covers. I'm going to take you on a journey to deeply uncover the reason why you are here, the ultimate purpose in your problems, and the way that they have shaped your life up until now. See, I believe you have a purpose, and your problems are the highway towards ultimate realization of that journey towards freedom and the reconnection of your true self. I've been told I have a different spin on most things, and I'll be giving you my understanding of life, love, and what we're all here for, purpose. To get the best out of this podcast, drop what you already know so you can discover what's beyond you. So join me, let's play this game of life and bring on liberation, transformation, and change. Let's do this. Okay, guys, welcome to Uncovered. I'm really excited. I've got a lady here who is a magician with teams, a magician with people, and an all-round amazing human. I'm really excited to actually have a bit of a chat to you about culture and what it means, especially in this day and age where culture has really been broken down in a really interesting way over the last couple of years. So Jade Green, welcome to Uncovered. Thanks for jumping on with me.
I am so stoked to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me to share with your tribe.
Perfect. So Jade, I want to get a little bit of a background. Who's Jade? I know you're a great surfer. I see you with a surfboard all the time on your Facebook posts. Tell me about who you are. What really makes you tick as a person?
Well, firstly, I don't know if we want to say I'm a great surfer, but I can hold my own. I'd like to say I'm pre-intermediate. But the main thing is I love it. So I love being in the water. And probably a good story is, what was it? About 7 years ago, I had started my awakening journey, started to consume more spiritual books. Like I'd done all of the business books and kind of found my way into some of the more spiritual books. And one of the books I read was What I Know for Sure by Oprah Winfrey. Mm-hmm. And when I went through it, what I realized was I was a surfer at a soul level, and I hadn't been a surfer for 17 years. And so I'd had maybe 10 surfs in 17 years. And I felt like, I always felt like I had to live near the water. Like as you can see, if they're watching on video, I need to be near the water. Otherwise I feel super disconnected, and I couldn't figure out what that was. And I feel like it's at that level. And for anyone that's woo-woo in your tribe, I have a past life regression and energy healer that I work with. And the first time he spoke to me, he couldn't see me or anything. He said, "Are you really connected to the water? Because your soul comes from where the whales and the dolphins come from." And I was like, well, that sounds right to me. So that gives you a little insight into me, right? I'm equal parts tomboy, girly girl, and entrepreneur. So, and I say that I'm, I'm the chakra tweaking team building coach. So I really do like to dive into who we are at a soul level and look at the whole human, and not just be business, and not conform into boxes. So it gives you a little bit of a insight into my personality. It confuses the fuck out of people.
Yeah, I think this is really important. Like what I'm hearing, Jade, is a person who's very emotional. So people who are connected to the sea, connected to the water, are naturally really emotionally built. And as a person going into corporate, how do you deal with emotions? Like when you're coming into a corporate setting, you've got to be, in quotes, professional, and you've got this spiritual connection. You've got this, you're naturally emotive, being a female as well. How do you go into settings and actually show and uncover things maybe that people don't necessarily understand or uncover in a setting that we're supposed to be, strategic as opposed to, cultural focused?
Yeah. So I've been through an interesting transition with that as well, Jason. And I realized about myself at that sort of 7-year mark, making those transitions, that I needed to step out of, I was playing competitive level football, and that really fed my masculine energy. And because I worked in a male dominated industry and I grew up with a single dad who was an ex-mercenary, and like I grew up pretty tough, I used to wear like the man pinstripe suit, the male shirt. I used to think that I needed to hold myself in that same manner. I had to be alpha as fuck. And I would project, and even like at one stage I got really offended because my team, we broke up into different teams within the organization, and we had to pick a team name. And my team called us the Black Widows. And because I was apparently, that was my nickname.
The Black Widow.
And the Black Widow, because people would get moved onto when I was running a recruitment firm for somebody else, people would get moved onto my team to get performance managed, and you either survived or you died. If you got moved to the desk team, you either got eaten alive or you became one of the pack. So I was kind of like this. There was, we don't do crying, even to the point that one of my sisters once said to me, "What's happening? Your face is leaking."
Wow.
I was like, "What do you mean?" They're like, we thought you had broken tear ducts. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay." So this has been a real journey for me to step in and understand the polarity and the importance of polarity in organizations as well, and like the masculine and feminine energy, and also looking at where we may be leaning in or out of one of them, and being able to tap into what's true for you and not swing either way. So I feel like now I've found that balance, which allows me to now just connect, and I can more read a situation and go, oh, do I lean more into my feminine and connection and softness? And I'm not afraid to, like, all of my clients have seen me cry always, because I do connection cards with them, and I'm happy to be vulnerable and model that vulnerability for them, and be open and be raw. And I'll come onto a call if someone asks me how my day is, and I might go, "Oh, it's been a fucking tough morning, but we're just going to do a breath work and I'll be with you in a moment."
I remember the first time I met you, Jade, and you melted down. And it was in a moment in a team of people who don't naturally melt down, right? And I was watching and just going, I wonder how everyone's going to handle this one, because I wanted to come in and do my magic with you, but I knew it was like, okay, I'll leave that well alone, because this is all business coaching. And I was watching all the business coaches going, wow, what do we do? This is a bit much.
Yeah.
And people really couldn't cope. But what you did was really special, because I had one of the guys, I won't name who it is, one of the guys actually said, 90% of the things go wrong in business. So he actually opened up and shared something, simply because you were willing to be vulnerable in a space which is not naturally vulnerable. And you came in and said, hey, I'm melting down here. And I sent you a message, and this is how we got to touch base a little bit. I was so proud, not proud of you. You don't know me. So it's just like, I was so proud that someone could come in and provide real, and in a setting that was built on, hey, yeah, we can all do it, everything's great, blah, 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 blah. And you just went, and it was so nice to actually see in that environment.
It wasn't great when they spotlighted me and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm the crying face. But do you know what came on the back of that? I made the most amazing connections. I had so many people reach out and make real connections. Like, because everyone else, like, you have people reach out all the time that bit surface, but I made some really great connections and some good friends from that moment. And I also led a fuck up call for some people because they were like, no one, everyone's in there, especially in that group, like comparing their highlight reels. And it's kind of a bit of a dick measuring competition a lot of the time. And, you know, you don't want to feel like you're the failure or whatever. And I think it did open the door for people. But that probably gave me a bit more confidence to help my clients do that as well. And so a lot of the stuff I do with my clients now is teaching them, you know, they think that they slam down the roller door of disassociation when they get there, and we park the baggage at the door, and we're like, you know, we come in and we be the tough people that we need to be for the business and not emotional. But they don't realize that they've got that energy field. I call it the fuck off energy field.
Yeah.
That's just radiating from them. And everyone else is assigning meaning to that. Like they're telling themselves a story. Even to the point, I had one of my clients' team members message me one day going, hey, do you know what I've done wrong, or why I'm in, like, why he's really mad at me? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He was just telling me how awesome you were. And he's like, no. And so when I talked to him, it was just that the owner was going through some stuff with the ex-wife, and there was a whole lot of turmoil. He thought he checked his stuff at the bag, but he just had this energy, hadn't said hello to people, and they assigned this meaning. So being able to, you don't need to go into the detail. It's not about being oversharing, but being able to, now he comes in and goes, hey guys, I've had a really tough night with the kids. The ex has been crazy again. This energy is not for you. Please don't take it on board, but I might need some space today. Like the open the conversations up. The same for employees now feeling that they can come and say the same thing. So rather than say the boss thinking that, you know, they're just being lazy, or they're not or they're disengaged, or all of this stuff, or dumping extra stuff on them, if an employee has the space to be able to say, do you know what? I had a really tough night last night, and I'm at capacity right now.
Yeah.
It builds, can you imagine how much trust that builds within a team?
Yeah.
And we know that trust is the number one thing we need to build peak performance teams.
100%. So tell us about this. We're talking about being emotionally regulated in an environment which is not built on emotional regulation, and we're talking about trust. And this is so important, Jade, is that I've been in corporate, I've been in situations where I, you know, burst the blood vessel, so to speak, and got the blood actually moving and getting people to talk real. So how do you do this, and to create a culture where there's more transparency? What is it that you come in with that actually builds this ability to create autonomy and transparency in an environment?
Yeah. So firstly, you've got to do work with the leaders, right? So culture is, like, honestly, culture is what you do. So what you do is who you are. There's an amazing book by Ben Horowitz. And if we think about that, is your culture is what your people do when you're not watching, and it's waterfalled from the top down. So whoever your leader is inside of the business, what they do, how they show up, is what gets modeled back to them from the team members. So the very first step is you've got to help the business leaders, whether they're the owner or your general managers or whoever's in there with the team all of the time. You've got to help them get the self-awareness. You've got to help them be able to get connected to self. You've got to help them get through their own bullshit to be able to show up authentically every single day in a connected, present way. Right. And the only way to do that is to do a bit of the work on themselves. They need to feel safe. Like if they're a leader within your business, not the owner, you need to help them feel safe, and you need to connect with them first. Would you like me to speak more as a business owner?
Yeah, I'd love you to speak as a business owner. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. So as the business owner, it really is about going and being having extreme ownership over how you show up, and really looking at yourself from the shoes of the people that you've got, and asking yourself, like, okay, am I actually portraying what I want to portray? Is the way I'm showing up being received the way I want it to be received? Because too many of us, like, we, you know, the fake it till you make it bullshit that we were fed a few years ago, and the hustle and all of these things, and like we're comparing our highlight reels and we're posturing all the time. That's not necessarily sending the right messages to the team and not really getting what we receive. And too many business owners don't really think about the character they need to display to be able to get that model back to them and to get the best out of their people.
Yeah.
And they create values for the business that are bullshit words on a wall, right? They go, everyone's done the vision, mission, values, right? And it's just bullshit. And then when they have words on a wall, or these are our values as a company, but then every team member sees the owner not actually showing up in integrity to those, it breaks the complete foundations of everything. So I really challenge the business owners first to get really connected to who they are and what their true, I say, virtues are, and like what they are actually able to model every single day, because that allows you to show up authentically.
Yeah.
It also, like, if you choose, I like to choose the words virtue over values, because I think values are based on belief systems, and it takes a while to shift beliefs, and it's not our right to push our beliefs upon anyone else. And culture is not a shared set of beliefs, people. It's a shared set of behaviors and actions, not just mindset. So if you can pick your virtues, you can then, a virtue is something you strive towards, right? So if you set your virtues as a business owner, you say, I'm going to strive towards this. And this is the behaviors that would model that. These are the character traits that would model that. And then you choose every single day to show up like that.
Yep.
That's what's going to get modeled back to you, right? But you need to be able to be vulnerable and to be able to share to create trust. If people don't trust you, if they don't trust you, they're not going to give you their all. And so if you want a peak performance team, you have to build trust.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think this is the biggest challenge from working with lots of corporates. I've had a lot of people come to me, Jade, and they've said to me, Jason, I can't be like that. The team needs me to be this way. And I just said, well, no, the team actually needs you to be real, to show up what's actually really going on. And people think it's weak. And I have melted down in front of our academy. I have as a man as well, which is not common. A lot of men disassociate their emotions. And I'm full of water too, Jade. I'm a very emotional man. And I work emotionally. I've had a lot of people say I'm the most emotionally intelligent person that they've ever met. And it comes down to actually being able to really share how you're traveling and not feel like everyone's going to run for the hills. And how do you handle with people who say, well, I can't show that, Jade?
Well, the thing is, if we want to succeed these days, if you want to have the best in the industry begging to work for you and stay with you, it's EQ trumps IQ, right, these days, because otherwise everyone can turn to technology. If you want a business that can out-survive AI, and if you're really looking at what's going to drive this world forwards, it's connection. And if you don't have EQ, you're fucked. You can have all the IQ in the world, but people won't stay with you. There'll be, if you want them to stay and to give you their blood, sweat, and tears, you need to use the EQ. And the only way to do that is to be able to be authentic and to be able to share openly. And like, don't get me wrong, as you heard, my sisters thought that I couldn't cry. I can slam down that roller door of disassociation. I'm amazing at it. And sometimes there is time for it. If there's a crisis and there's somebody literally drowning or something completely melting down, I can slam down that roller door, get into tactical mode, and just go hard at it. I can separate. The thing is, I can separate my emotional response. So my triggers, my emotional response, my limiting beliefs, my bullshit that might make me react in a way that's not, or react in a way that's not, doesn't serve.
Yeah.
But still use my emotional intelligence to see where the other person is coming from, connect to them as a human, regulate the emotions so that I can respond rather than react. Right. So it's about being able to get yourself calm and really go, okay, am I having an emotional response, like a knee jerk based on a previous trauma? Like, what's in control right now? Is it the amygdala? Is it the hippocampus? What's online? What's offline? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
You can figure that out and go, right, regulate and drop in, but connect and understand and see the whole human in front of you. Then you're going to be able to build that trust, and everything forms from there.
I love that. So tell me, you've just sort of brushed across this. I just want the listeners who may not know EQ. Can you just give us a little bit of a definition from your perspective of EQ? You've said it, but it'd just be nice for people to understand the differentiation. We know IQ. Yeah. That's we are taught IQ. We're never taught anything about emotional regulation at school. We are taught just to learn and left brain. So tell me about EQ from your perspective.
So from my perspective, the EQ is really being able to label your emotions and understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
So, because Brene Brown's new book, Atlas of the Heart. Now, she literally just goes through there, and it's a lot of studies around people being able to label emotions, and you'd be really scared. Like, most people think there's only 4. But if you can actually go, okay, what is actually coming up for me right now? Is this anger or is it fear? Like, am I scared or am I pissed off? Like, even that sort of stuff. And then being able to take the next step below and go, where's that coming from? Is it an anxiety about the future?
Yeah.
Is it because it feels like it's an attack on my character? Is it something about me? Or is it because of a memory of the past where something similar has happened that's not resulted in a good way, or vice versa? Am I getting super excited because of these things? So if you can get a better label and a better handle on what your feelings and emotions are, and then figure out what's triggering that, then you can actually take control of it and ask yourself if it's serving, and if that's the place you want to be in. Is that the state that you want to stay in, or do you need to change state to better match and meet the people where they're at, or to get the result that you need? So EQ for me is understanding all of those things, and then having, I call it an energy state tool belt. So in your tool belt, it's like, what do you pull on to either stay in state or to change state to get to the state that you need to be in to best serve the outcome you're trying to get?
Yeah, I love that. That's we teach that in our academy too, with a whole bunch of tools that you can sort of, the people who are watching can see behind me using symbols.
Beautiful.
So I use symbols to actually get people to understand, such using a visual model, which changes your brain state to get you to think and feel and understand really differently around what it is that you're doing. And I love this, Jade, because look, this sort of type of leadership is so essential right now. And it's so nice to have you, talk about this and speak to this, Jade, because listeners, gone are the days, I believe we have to start saying, gone are the days of this regimented, mechanical type of leadership that is all based on, let's get the result and let's make it happen. Because what I've found, I don't know about you, Jade, but I've had a lot of people talk to me and they've said to me, hey, Jason, I'm recovering on the weekend. I don't really want to go to work, because they feel like they're actually a slave to the environment and they can't be themselves.
Yeah. Exhausting, not being yourself. Absolutely exhausting.
Yeah.
Right.
And it is. And so how do we show up? Like how do we show up belonging to who we are while still being able to do our job spec and get the things that we're here to do as a an employee of a business or a business owner? How do we manage to get all that working, Jade, from your perspective?
Yeah. I just got to preface some of this with, a lot of people would think that I do more white collar, like this stuff might be in more of your white collar or your tech sort of industries, your people that are lean more to this stuff. But a lot of my work is done with tradies and in like more of the bluer collar workers. Like some of my biggest clients are butchers and electricians and trades businesses and hydraulics engineers. And I do have the finance brokers and the psych professionals and things like that as well. So we've got a good mix. But a lot of people, when we start talking about this stuff, they're like, oh, that's not for my industry. So what I want to do is just take that out of everyone's mind right now
Love that.
right? Some of the most rewarding work that I've done has been doing work with teams that have come through from your traditional apprenticeships on the tools. Like, they've never had exposure to any of this shit. I walk in with my crystal water bottle and they're like, what's that woo-woo stuff? Right? But the differences that can be made. So I just want to level that playing field first. The second thing I want to say is I do a lot of work with accrediting under Stephen Kotler and the Flow Research Collective. And I really believe in, and I know you understand flow. And the key principle there is the more flow you have, the more flow you get. And so flow is one of the key things that causes us to achieve shit, right? We want to get stuff done. You want to get in flow. You want to get in the zone, right? That's when you're most productive. That's when you smash things out. That's when you focus. It's most creativity. And it's also when we have the most joy, right? Like, what does it feel like when you come through, you've been through something, you're like, oh yeah, I was just in the zone. Like, you're pumped, right?
Yeah.
How can you help your people be in flow? How can you help your people to feel like they're in the zone? Because that's when they're going to do their best work for you. They're never going to get in the zone if they're wearing a mask and unable to show up fully as themselves.
Yeah.
So if you don't create a safe environment, we're talking about trust, right? And trust is really psychological safety. How do you create environments where people feel psychologically safe? And there's the different levels in the hierarchy of needs of how we create psychological safety.
Yeah.
But if you can look at how do you build a culture that creates psychological safety so that people feel safe to show up as themselves, that's how you're going to allow them to be able to step into the zone, the flow state, and do their best work for you. And when they're doing their best work, they do it faster, right? They don't have as many mistakes. Like, there's just so many benefits for it. So you want to look at that. And then you don't have people going on the weekend, fuck my life, I don't want to go to work on Monday, because work is a place where they get energy and fulfillment.
Yeah.
Maybe a place where they get to express and they don't have to conform. And if you really want to hack that, if you can create a team where someone feels like they've got a best friend at work, they don't need to be their best friend in life, but they've got a best work friend.
Yeah.
They're 7 times happier, 7 times more productive, and they stay 7 times longer. What do you think that does to your bottom line?
Yeah. I think people don't get this though, do they, Jade? It's like,
I don't pay them to be happy. I pay them to do their job.
Yeah, that's right. And they've done all this stuff. They should be happy of the
I pay them.
Yeah. It's like yesterday I gave my EA some activated nuts, and she was almost in tears just because she was just like, I said to her, I ate some of the nuts that she had here. And I said, I'm really sorry. I ate too many. So I got two bottles of it. And I said, one's for here and one's for here, one's for home. And she said, oh my God. And she was almost in tears because she got appreciated. And this is what we need to do. And she just felt so good. She came in this morning just because I provided what she needed, as opposed to thanking her for what she did for the day.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Did you activate them yourself?
There's no way I know how, right? I don't know how to do that. But do you know how to do that? It's
exhausting.
Okay, so definitely buy them then. I'm going to buy them if it's too exhausting. That's not my bag.
When I used to play competitive football, because like the dieting, like the diet, not dieting, but what we used to consume, all the organic stuff and everything. Yeah. I used to go through so many nuts. I used to activate them myself, and it's exhausting.
Yeah. Wow. That's full on. And did it work better? Like when you had them activated, did it actually help?
Look, my placebo effect says yes.
Yeah. Psychologically, because this is what it is. Like, we're looking at something and Ophelia felt really psychologically connected simply because I did something really simple to look after her. And
and you went above and beyond. You didn't just buy standard nuts to replace it. You didn't just replace what you took. Like, you actually gave something to her.
Yeah. And I think this is essential because I love her. She does so much for me. And I really appreciate all the stuff that she does. And I looked at her in the eyes this morning and I said, you know, Philia, if I don't tell you enough how much I care, I just want to let you know I'm sorry, because I really do. And it's just sitting and being able to emotionally connect with your staff and let them know how important and valuable they are, rather than, did you get that thing ticked off? Oh, thanks for that. Thanks for that worksheet. Thanks for getting that done. Thanks for getting the taxes sorted out. Thanks for whatever it is that you do. That really is the tactical know-how that doesn't actually make people really that happy in lots of ways. Because we, as you said, it's connection and it's a safety and a trust, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's scary how many, like, if people actually looked at the data on how many employees are disengaged at work.
Yeah.
And understanding what can you do to create engagement, right? It's so scary. 78% of Australians are open to being approached for another opportunity.
Wow.
Now, if they were actively engaged and bought into your business and connected to you and cared about you, would they be open to other opportunities?
No. And I think this is, so how do we get them engaged, Jade? Like, what is it that you do? You come in like a superhero to come and sort out an environment to support engagement. And how do you peel off the onion straight away to let's say a disengaged group, and you've seen them and you know that you've got to do something different? What do you do when you jump in there?
Yeah, beautiful. So the first thing is starting with the business owner and the leaders and getting really tapped into what those virtues are that we can live and breathe, and disseminating that down into a set of habits, behaviors, routines, and actions that can be lived throughout the organization. And everything underpins that. Like, if we're picking a team building event, we pick something that's aligned to those virtues that allows us to live into those. We don't just go and drink beers at the pub and have some pizza. Right? It's actually, it's curated and created. We reassess, like, I don't do vision, mission, values. I do purpose, mission, obsession, and virtues. Yeah. So when we go to the purpose, it's like, why do we exist? Why are we here? Giving everyone a really clear North Star of why we're here. Simple. The mission, like, that's the transformation. Like, what's the bigger picture? The obsession is the broken down metrics so that we know that we're on the way, because part of being engaged, like, if you want to have motivation, most people to get motivation needs momentum. Yeah. So you need to give something, you know how, like, people are like, I want to impact 1 million people. Yeah. Or either my own mission is to be the world's largest enabler of humans and happy at work. Right. Yeah. So that sounds fucking great. But what does that mean? And how do we know that we're actually doing it? So now we break that down and go, what that actually looks like is directly impacting 6,000 humans to be happier at work by May 2024. And then we break down how do we touch that? How do we measure that? And so the team can see, and we can go, okay, your role, Jody, when you bring people into our Facebook group, that counts as one person. But actually they're business owners, and we know that they have a direct effect probably on 5. So every person you bring into the Facebook group is helping us to help 6 people be happier at work, at least. Yeah, love it. And now there's like, rather than, hey, get someone in the Facebook group, right? She is now more enrolled in why she should be doing it, more engaged in the actual work, rather than, hey, we wanted to have another 100 people in this group by the end of the month. Like, get fucked. Yeah, because that's not gonna mean anything for the person, is it? If you think about it, right? Again, hierarchy of needs. I do a lot of work using hierarchy of needs, looking at how do we certify? How do we help someone have self-actualization? How do we help them feel like they're contributing? Right? You've got to give them the links, like, show them how they're contributing. So we design all of the culture code around these things, right? And if you're an organization that already has the old legacy stuff, when you do this, you may lose some people, but you're much better to cut off the limb to save the body.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how everyone else steps up as well. But you start to be able to attract the very best people in the industry to fill the gaps, because you're getting people to opt in. So what you want to create is an opt-in culture. People who are excited about what you're trying to do, who have chosen to help you have that impact, or to serve the people that you do, who have said, I actually want to show up and live and work in this way and have these actions, behaviors, routines, and be with these type of people. Right. So once you can do that, so often we do, if it's an organization that's been around for a while, we build all this out, and then we do a thing called Phoenix Day, where we burn the old culture to the ground, and then we phoenix from the ashes with the new culture, with everyone being a part of the co-collaboration of how you create those actions. Like, what do these words mean to us? How do we choose to show up? What does it mean to you? And so you are enrolling them in the journey, and it is a co-creation of how everyone's like deciding it's going to be their ride or die culture DNA, and how we contribute. Then the next level down is working on the leadership and really giving those tools and the skills of connection. So before, when you saw me bend off screen, I was reaching for these. There is the Icebreaker Deeper Talk deck by Best Self.
Cool.
I'm eventually going to make my own. But they're connection cards, and every meeting, every one-on-one, even with my clients, when I work with them, we always draw a card.
Okay, come on, let's draw one.
Okay, pick a color: blue, slate, green, yellow, or red.
Okay, let's go with blue.
Blue. Okay, tell me this is exactly how I play the game. Tell me when.
When?
Who is the strongest person you know, and how do you wish you were more like them?
My strongest person that I know is my wife, and I wish I had the courage to stand up like she does for what she believes in.
Oh, amazing. So, and I would usually follow up with, okay, what's one thing you can do, or like, what's an action? I get everyone to write it down, like that you can put that into practice in the next couple of days.
So what I do every time that I'm thinking that it's all too hard, I think about my wife, and I step forward and actually do the things that scare me the most, knowing that she's right behind me every step of the way.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. And then as a facilitator, or whoever's doing it, has to share as well. So the strongest person I know, and I wish I was more like them, how I wish I was more like them, is probably my sister Elise. We had a tumultuous childhood, and she could definitely choose to play a victim and allow some of the past programming to affect the way she parents and the way that she shows up in the world. And she actively chooses to work on that and park it. And the things that I would like to be more like her is she's actually really great at setting boundaries and speaking when someone's crossed a boundary, or able to speak up for how she's feeling about that and the impact it's having upon her. And also going, I don't want this around my children, and this is why. And so just being able to speak her truth and not in a confrontational way, just in a sharing way, is beautiful for me. And I think that takes heaps of courage.
I love that. That's like Anya. That's my wife. She's got the same. It's nice when you have someone like that in your life, isn't it, Jade? And so what we're doing, listeners, is we're actually being transparent and creating a moment. And this is what creates connection, because we got a little bit of a deeper understanding about maybe some weak points that both Jade and I have, by seeing some values and virtues of sister and wife, and understanding that we're working towards those things, but we have an ally in front of us to teach us that. And that's the beauty of autonomy and being transparent. And that's a great example. So thank you for doing that today, because I think doing something as an example, listeners, to know that as leaders, Jade and I don't have our shit together all the time, right? It's not how
Remember the meltdown?
We all melt down and we all struggle. And I was like that this morning. I was having a meltdown this morning, and Anya gave me a big hug, and I had that experience today, right? she's just sent me a message, a big bear hug message on Messenger while we were chatting. She said, I hope the day's going okay for you. Right.
Aww.
And
I must say, do you know what? I was derailed this morning as well.
yeah,
I was completely derailed and I had to be kind to myself. And I was like, do you know what? I'm not just going to push through and I was going to try and smash out some project work. I was like, do you know what? No, I'm going to do my workout on the ground. I'm going to try and just get myself balanced. I played my sound healing bowl. I was rewarded with whales to be able to drop in. Because I think otherwise, if I would have pushed through, I feel like my energy would have been little left to center, being able to step in.
I love that. So Jade, speaking about that, like, do you suggest with the people that you help to find that thing that they can do outside of work that's actually going to reestablish, what they need? Do you do that with your clients?
100%. I actually do it and I lead it. So a lot of my clients get me to run team building days. So I do a team building day called the Blissful Blueprint. And it comes from Reverend Michael Beckwith is really who coined the term, but it's unpacked in the book, The Code of the Extraordinary Mind, which is by Mindvalley's founder, Vishen Lakhiani. And for me, like to actually live a life of bliss and joy, you need to have the discipline to be able to do that. You've got to actively choose to do that on a daily basis, and you've got to make time for the stuff that lights you up and fills your cup if you want to be able to move forward. And too many people are just passengers and existing and caught up in their shitstorm, and they just do what everyone else has done and they don't actually look at it. And if we go back to what I said earlier about the more flow you have, the more flow you get, you've got to be able to find those things. And that's why I throw out books all the time, but just the purpose of sitting down and going, what do I know for sure? What do I know for sure brings me joy, lights me up, makes me feel the most me, makes my cup feel full and full of joy, right? If you can't pour from an empty cup. So if you're constantly feeling drained, extreme ownership, give yourself a smack up the side of the head and ask yourself, what did you actually do to fill your own cup? Yeah. Don't blame everybody else for draining your cup. What did you choose? If you chose to sit on the couch and watch friggin', binge watch Netflix, that's not going to fill your cup. Don't bitch and whinge to me. Ask yourself, what do you normally like? Oh, I like sunsets. Great. Go for a fucking walk and watch the sunset. Get a wine. What can you do? I've worked with I have been some of the most busiest people in the world, believe me. Everyone can find the time. We all have the same hours in the day as Beyonce and Elon Musk.
Yeah, I love that. And I think this is really important, listeners. Do something that's actually really fun. Do stuff that you really enjoy. Make sure that you are fulfilling your cup in a way that's actually going to actually make you feel like you're floating on air. I'm really lucky in the job that I do, Jade, because every time I'm helping someone, I'm levitated. I feel so good. My day is full of joy helping people, and then I get my little humans. I get home and have to spend time with them. I have to, because they've got this beautiful essence of being able to play and connect. So a lot of people don't have that. People can be in jobs where they're not fulfilling that cup, so they're feeling drained. And what I'm hearing, Jade, you tell me if I'm wrong, is your capacity and what you're here to do is to help people find the bliss and the meaning back at work again.
Yeah. So my whole thing, the reason why my company is called Vare means, in Norwegian, it means to be. So to be. Yeah. And in Finnish, it means ripple. Because I always say that we're here to be the ripple effect for the change we want to see in the workplace and the world. Because I believe that the fate of humanity rests on the shoulders of emerging businesses and small business owners. And so it's our responsibility to create these safe spaces and to educate and to help our team members to be able to level up and vibrate at the level and the energy that we want to see in the world, rather than bitching and complaining about how everyone else is. It's our job to help them to be able to step up into that. So it really is my purpose to, I'm not a guru who's going to create the next movement or anything like that, but if every business owner I help has at the very least 5 people that they're impacting. And most of them, like if I look at one of my clients, they've got I think we've got 112 staff. Each of those staff has 5 people directly in their orbit. So if you start to ripple out what happens with every single person that we can help have a different mindset, have a better day, it's just massive, right?
Yeah, 100%. Now, I've got a little bit of a question here for you. I've got a little bit of maybe something that I'm going to call you out a little bit, Jade.
Okay,
that's okay.
go.
So I don't believe that you're not a guru. I actually believe that you are here to make a big impact. You are a phenomenal human, and you are here to make a giant impact in this world. So I will not have you put yourself in a low position. No way. Not on my watch. From what I've heard today, and the beauty is the emotion, because I'm hitting you right in the feels today, aren't I? I'm hitting you right in the feels saying, no way. I think you are here as a guru. Now, guru represents the joy. It's Jupiter as a planet. It represents the joy, the expansion, the integrity, the opportunity to bring a light at the end of a dark tunnel. And I see something so special in you, Jade. And I believe as a person that you are going to have your name up in lights. You're going to be a person that people are going to remember. And that's what a guru is. And I feel when you go into organizations and you leave, there's a where Jade go? Is what I'm feeling inside of you. So I'm just calling out what I see in you, Jade. You're something really, really special, and you're very unique, masculine, feminine, balanced. You really want to make a difference in this world, and you can feel it in your bones. The emotion that is I'm drawing out of you right now is the truth.
Thank you for seeing me.
Yeah. So, honey, I am so grateful to have you jump on Uncovered and really see real. Like, this is the embodiment of a really, really, really special podcast, because we're talking about a leader here that is here to be impactful, and she's gone a little bit over humble, and I've just called the over humility out, because people like Jade, you need in your life. You need to experience people like her, and she is going to make a massive impact in your world. I'm going to get all your details for anyone who wants to get in touch with Jade, get an experience of what she does. If you're a business owner, please get in touch with her. She's going to change the very face of how you think, how you work, and what you do. And if you like this podcast, I'd love it if you could like and share it, to give the opportunity for people to get an experience of what true leadership and what true foundations we need to change. And I believe that you, Jade, are an amazing change agent, and there needs to be leaders like you in this world. There needs to be, especially for females, as a female, as a woman, you're one of the most essential ingredients to life right now. And to be impacting the way that you do, I'm really gracious having the opportunity to spend some time with you today.
Oh, thank you so much, Jason. I can't tell you how much your words mean to me today, specifically.
I know you really needed this today. I'm very, very intuitive. I'm highly intuitive. You've had a hard morning and things have been a bit tough. I'm very, very aware. This is the beauty of vulnerability. It's the beauty of who you are, and I'm really lucky to get to know you as a human being today. And this is what we all need to become, as more human.
That is 100%. If I could leave a message for everyone, it is to look at the whole human in front of you. Don't look as your employees as employees. Look at them as human beings, and look at how you can serve them as a whole human. Look at what drives them and how you can connect with them, and that it will pay dividends not only for you and your business, but for the world.
Yeah, And that's it. And so, listeners, we're listening to a world changer here, and she's only just started. Right. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how your journey unfolds itself, Jade. And I see you as a huge impact maker and an amazing decision maker in the world of transformation. It's really needed right now. So thank you for jumping on Uncovered. I really appreciate our time today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it too. I'm so grateful to be here.
Thanks so much for listening to our podcast. We really appreciate you, and we really appreciate your time, because time is so valuable. What we'd love you guys to do, if you like this podcast, if you could share it with your friends, and also our website address for the podcast is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademypodcast.com. Our website is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademy.com. We have a free Facebook group called Wellness Leadership Evolution, so search for that. I'd love it if you could add me as a friend on Facebook. I don't bite, so add me as a friend. And if you want some help and you would really like some support from us in the Academy, jump in. We have a process. You can do a break-in call to connect in with us. We do small courses. We have lots of things that we share. So we'd love the opportunity to give you a chance to change your life and turn it into a free one. You are one transformation away from change. Come and catch up.